Denmark is one of the Scandinavian countries located in Northern Europe. It has a long and influential history, both in the neighboring Scandinavian nations and in the rest of Europe.
The origin of the name Denmark. The origin of the word Denmark is not precisely known. However, some writings suggest that the word Denmark is divided into two parts, Dan and Mark. Dan means flatland, while Mark means forest or borderland. Humans inhabited Denmark around 12,000 years before Christ. The Danish people are known as part of the Viking peoples, especially during the period from the 8th century until the 11th century.
The Vikings were Nordic Germanic peoples who inhabited the Scandinavian regions in Northern Europe. The Viking explorers were the first to reach Iceland and settle there, and that was in the 9th century AD. The Vikings possessed great skill in shipbuilding, and they used this to raid parts of France and the British Isles. Many of them also worked in trade, which gave them influence along the coasts and rivers of Europe. The Danish Vikings were active in Britain, Ireland, and France, and they settled parts of England, establishing colonies in Ireland and Normandy.
At the beginning of the 9th century, the Christian Empire of Charlemagne reached the southern borders of Denmark. At that time, there was a king in the region called Godfred, who had emerged in Holstein and possessed a naval fleet. This king established diplomatic relations with the Franks.
In the year 815, Saint Ansgar traveled to cities in Denmark. He began introducing the population to Christianity and inviting them to Catholicism. The Danes were officially unified and converted to Catholicism in the year 965 AD.
After the end of the 11th century, Denmark transitioned from a system made up of a mixture of local chieftains and a weak royal institution to a European-style system led by a strong king who governed through a class of influential nobles in society. During this period, the country witnessed internal conflict and a weak political position, as it later came under German influence. At that time, the country also saw the emergence of stone buildings, most of which were churches.
The Kingdom of Denmark reached its peak of expansion during the reign of Valdemar II, who led the formation of the Danish Baltic Empire. In 1221, this empire extended its control over Estonia in the east and even Norway in the north.
After the death of Valdemar II in 1241 and until the beginning of the reign of Valdemar IV in 1340, the kingdom entered a period of decline due to internal conflicts among the sons of Valdemar II. These conflicts
led to the separation of the southern parts of the Danish kingdom, which thereafter became duchies or semi-independent provinces.
During the reign of Valdemar IV, Denmark regained its strength, and afterwards the Kingdom of Denmark entered into an alliance with Norway and Sweden. This union was called the Kalmar Union.
It was believed that this union would make them a great power in the north. Afterwards, the union remained in a state of tension, as Sweden separated from it and was later rejoined, a process that occurred several times.
In 1523, Sweden left this union, and Denmark remained in a bilateral union with Norway until 1814, after which they separated.
Between the 17th and 18th centuries, Denmark entered into many wars with Sweden. By the late 18th century, during the Napoleonic Wars, Denmark at that time remained neutral between the warring parties.
Thus, its neutrality allowed Denmark to establish commercial relations with all sides of the war, and it sought to remain neutral at all times in order to benefit from profitable trade exchanges with France and Great Britain. For this reason, it joined the neutral states, which included Russia, Sweden, and Prussia. However, Britain considered this Danish neutrality as a hostile act and launched an attack on Copenhagen. This took place at the beginning of 1801 and again in 1807, when the British Navy destroyed the Danish fleet and set parts of the capital, Copenhagen, on fire, which led to the end of the Danish era of prosperity.
A naval war broke out between Denmark and Britain managed to gain control over the sea passages between Denmark and Norway, which led to the bankruptcy of the Danish-Norwegian Union in 1803.
During the Congress of Vienna, which was held after the Napoleonic Wars, demands were made to dissolve the union between Denmark and Norway. Denmark attempted to restore the Scandinavian Union once again in 1819, but its efforts failed after Sweden refused.
When the European tensions occurred in 1848, Denmark became a constitutional monarchy, and this happened peacefully. After the Second Schleswig War in 1864, Denmark was forced to cede Schleswig and Holstein to Prussia. Afterwards, Denmark returned once again to a policy of neutrality, which continued during the First World War.
At the Versailles Conference, held after the First World War, the Allied forces offered Denmark the return of the Schleswig and Holstein region once again.
But Denmark, fearing German ambitions, rejected the offer and insisted on holding a public referendum on the matter in 1920. After the referendum and the king's signing of the reunification document, King Christian X of Denmark crossed the old border on a white horse. With this, Denmark regained northern Schleswig.
During the Second World War, German forces invaded Denmark in 1940, and it took only 2 hours of military resistance before the Danish government surrendered to the German forces. After that, economic cooperation took place between Denmark and Germany, and it continued until 1943. Afterwards, the Danish government refused to cooperate with the Germans and scuttled most of its ships so that the Germans could not benefit from them. It also sent a large number of its officers to neutral Sweden.
Denmark also rescued a large number of Danish Jews and sent them to Sweden shortly before the German siege of Denmark. In addition, the Danes carried out sabotage operations against German facilities. During that time, Iceland severed its ties with Denmark and became an independent republic. After the Second World War, Denmark was among the founding members of the United Nations and also a founding member of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. Now, Denmark has become one of the advanced European countries, whether in the economic field or in social services, as it is classified among the highest countries in terms of income level. It is also considered in the first place in the world as the happiest place on earth, based on standards of healthcare, social welfare, and education. It is also one of the least corrupt countries in the world.